Okay, we would like to start the discussions, but before we resumes our discussions on the Hmong immigrations, political organizations, social service organizations, let me say something to my class. I really appreciate your time to be here, and I just passed the attendance sheet. Please do sign your name on the attendance sheet, and also I passed the results of the exam, and please look at that. And after that, please turn those paper back to me. For our reading for this Thursday, continue to do the public opinion chapter, and we will definitely finish that chapters this Thursday, and we'll move on to look at the political parties Tuesday. And please do note that we will have our full quiz on Thursday. Information contains on the chapters about public opinions and political parties. And this is just for your information. Today we are fortunate to have our guest speaker from the Twin Cities, and they are expert on the Southeast Asia refugees issue, especially immigrations and assimilations into mainstream America. And we are fortunate to have them to be here with us as the panelists. Let me introduce the first speakers who are next to me is Mr. Hmongs. He is a youth counselor for the nonprofit organizations known as the Southeast Asia Refugee Community Home. And he arrived here in the United States in 2000s. And after he is here in the United States, he went to U of M in Minnesota to study political science and minor in history. And he got his Bachelor of Arts in 2009. And he is an expert in Southeast Asia issues. And we are pleased to have him as a panelist today. Welcome, Mr. Hmong. The other speaker is the lady next to him. Is Michael Wang. She grew up here in America mostly, and she has the liberties to educate in America. She got her Bachelor of Arts in Social Work from North Carolina State University, major in Social Work. And after she finished her degree, she has the liberties to work for nonprofit organizations, assisting Southeast Asia to adapt to mainstream America. And she also has the liberties to write a book about remembering grandma's New Year celebrations. And we also have her here today to share her experiences, how she assists the Southeast Asia refugees to assimilate to mainstream Americans. Welcome, Ms. Bang. And the next speaker is the lady, also from Southeast Asia. She is the ED, Executive Directors of the Associations for the Advancement of Hmong Women in Minnesota since 1988, and she has extensive knowledge about how to assist Hmong women and other women from Southeast Asia to assimilate to mainstream America. And she was one of the first Hmong ladies back in Laos to have the educations, and she was nurse during the secret war in Laos during the Vietnam War. And she migrated to the United States in the last 34 years, and she has her college education here in the state of Minnesota. And after that, she also joined the Southeast Asia groups to assist Southeast Asian refugees to adjust themselves to a new environment here in the state. And last but not least, Ms. Lian Yang. She's a graduate student here at St. Cloud State University. She majored in higher education, leadership and administration. And we also welcome her to be part of the panelists. So the format of the discussions is that I would like to have the panelists to talk about their jobs, at least 7 to 10 minutes, what they do. And then after that, we will open the floor for your questions, comments, and discussions, and the speakers will be responding to your questions. So And I'm here just to facilitate the communications between you and the panelists. And I would like to invite Mr. Huang first to say something about your duty and responsibilities as a youth counselor for the Southeast Asian refugees community home.
Good morning, everyone. I work at the South Asian refugee for almost 2 years, and my specific is about the youth program and the employment. So about the youth program, basically I just been a counselor for the youth people like who have problem with the who have problem with the law and like commit a minor like crime. And so because they're underage, so the county, they don't want to get charged against those children, so they send it pay to our office, and just the thing that we do is just try to explain to them about the law and send them to go put like the volunteer work. So after a while, if we see that the children is improving their behavior, then we send it back to the county and say that they are a good child, so they can withdraw the call and they don't against the children. So that's grand. So, and besides that, I work as employment counselor. I have the people to looking for a job, mostly the new coming refugee, people from South Asian. They come here and they're not adapted to the culture yet. So we plan the culture to them, tell them how to get a job and how to stay on the job for longer in the United States. So that's basically what I do there.
Hello, my name is Michael Wang. I work with Quan, and we come from the agency called Southeast Asian Refugee Home Community. Community Home. Let me repeat again. Southeast Asian Refugee Community Home in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this agency is created by a group of Asian refugees who are leaders in the communities, and the 3 countries that they focused at the time 22 years ago were Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Because during the 80s, a lot of people come from Southeast Asia and who are refugees into this country. What I'm doing at this agency is working with employment services and helping refugees with social services issues and provide educational programs like childcare classes or job interviews, orientation for refugee people. And we do a lot of translation and interpretation along the way. The group of people that we are working currently at this time are Bhutanese. They're from Nepal. And their cultures is similar to Asian Indians, but they have their own language, their own cultures, and they are victims of their country, so they left the country to come to this country. The second group that we're working with are the Karen. In their language, they call themselves Ghanaian, but in English, it's pronounced as Karen, the name of Karen, from Burma. And we are working with this group with the state program, refugee program. And the third group that we're working with is the Somalian from Africa. We have a lot of group of population in the Minneapolis area, and we have Somalian community leaders working with us too. So I'm happy to be here. And I have a film that I want to provide to you. So after we do the introduction, we will provide the film for you. The film is made by the organization called SEARAC, S-E-A-R-A-C, SEARAC. It represents Southeast Asian Resource Center in Washington, D.C.
Good morning. Good morning to all. I know you all have a long morning already, so we'll keep it short and simple. My name is Lee Wang. As Dr. Yang mentioned, I'm from the Twin City, and And my history, my job, what I have done, past, present, I don't know the future. I was one of the Vietnam vet back in my homeland country as a Laos. I was served in a Vietnam War during the time I was 12 years old as a nurse for American CIA and treating the wounded soldier of American and our country soldier. From 1968 to 75 until the country is collapsed. I was refugee to the refugee camp because our life was threatening and we are at risk. So I only have a chance to stay in a camp for a short term for 9 months, and I'm traveling to United States in 1976. I was one of the first Hmong family in Twin City and the number 6 Hmong family in Twin City of Minnesota. Today, we have close to 90,000 in the Twin Cities specifically. Throughout the state, could be more. At the beginning, I came to United States. It took me 9 months to refresh my English back then. And I became a health screening with the Minnesota Department of Health, St. Paul, Minneapolis, from 1977 all the way to 1988. 1980, us women have learned that the women have facing great challenge. Their life here from home, which is took a lot of energy, effort to make the change as a refugee from one country to another country. Change your role, responsibility, way of life to survive. And that's how we have experienced the challenge against women, families, and children back then in 80. 15 of the Hmong women, including myself, we were found the Hmong women of Minnesota as a volunteer project that we using the government center in Minneapolis, our first home office, to help these women, number one, learn how to sign the name, learn how to read the number 1 to 10, and starting with ABCs. Our culture is very different because woman is always a housewife, raise family, taking care of the children and extended family, and that's what you do. And there's no opportunity for you to go out there and involving the community and being part of decision making outside of your home. After women arrived in the United States, it turned our life upside down, our head down and feet up. Domestic issue been arise at the time, mistreated, mistrusted among your spouse, been abused because that you have to get out of home, going to school and going to work, dealing with issues, helping your children around. That's what we have done. In 1988, I became the executive director of the Association for Advancement of Hmong Women. I'm serving the refugee, Cambodians, Lao, and Vietnamese with social service. First thing is education about ESL, and then starting with survival skill, helping people learn how to ride, using public transportation, know your way to and from home, and find a way back and forth with doctors and school to helping the children. That's what we have done. For the last 20 plus years of my time serving the refugee with the Association for Advancement of Hmong Women, we have various number of programs to helping parents, elder, youth, and family to make it through the survival time and up to the present. And now the Hmong refugee, including the Lao, Cambodian, Vietnamese, their life has switched into a permanent citizen in the United States. So we'll share with you on the story. Thank you.
Okay, this is my turn. Hello everyone, my name is Dia Yang. I am originally from Menominee, Wisconsin. I grew up there and then I moved here to the Twin Cities. You could say my parents were also Hmong refugees, immigrants. I was the first one to go to college and graduate from college from my family. I came to I graduated just past May with a degree in secondary education, social studies, so I taught history. And I taught social studies in Minneapolis at Hmong International Academy, which is really focused with a lot of refugees, Hmong refugees. So it was kind of hard trying to teach them English when they didn't really understand some of the words I was using, especially trying to teach world geography and American history to them. So that was a good experience. And right now I decided to get my graduate degree in higher education administration here at SCSU. And I took that route mainly because during my years as my undergrad studies, I did some recruiting for the missions to go recruit students into higher education in college. And I'm learning that a lot of students are still undecided to go to college even at this age, especially a lot of the refugees and the immigrants here in the Twin Cities, and because of the disadvantages they have. And right now I'm currently am a GA at the Intensive English Center, which is working with international students with their English. And I'm also working with Multicultural Student Services. And I'm also working at the campus involvement in student programming. So.
Okay, thank you. Before we open the floor for questions and comments, as she said, they have movies that we want to see. And to educate you a little bit about Southeast Asia refugees, we came from 3 different countries with different cultures, languages, and we have problems understanding to one another. And in order for us to, as a groups, to influence the government's internal decision-making, public policy considerations, Southeast Asia groups, refugees, they organize the Southeast Asia Research Center stations in DC, and that is the movies the institutions produce. And let's wait and see what kind of information that we have from the movie. And after that, I will open the floor for your questions and comments. Oh, okay, since we are still working on the movie, let's open the floor for your questions. Comments if you're interested to know more about Southeast Asia refugees, as how they survive adjusting to mainstream America, what kind of assistance that these ladies and gentlemen provide to them in order for them to assimilate and adjust to mainstream society. Please do feel free and asking them questions, and I am sure that they will respond to your questions as efficient as possible. Please, and now the floor is open.
I was just wondering if you could talk about a little more about the ways you've worked with either city government or school districts to provide resources and programming that's helpful.
Well, you're talking about service that we're providing, right?
Right.
For the time the refugee arrive here, first thing, there's 2 things. Number 1 thing, from 1977 to the 87, most people who arrive in the United States as a refugee is all worker, serving in the military, do different work in a government site for American CIA. So when we first arrived here, during those period from 76 to 87, we came through a sponsorship through churches, institution, company, depends on what the wallet agency gone through, and whoever willing to sponsor a family to come to United States. Most of the time, those people, including myself, my family, we were placed on job before we arrived in the United States. After 87, there's a family sponsor family, which after the country collapsed, all the government workers, including myself, we were freed to the refugee camp before the family arrived. So after our family arrived in refugee, then the family trying to sponsor family from refugee camp. So after that, as you know, refugee sponsor refugee is gonna be a top spot because we all struggling for survival. So the government trying to open public assistance to the family who came here in the late 87. And thus ESL has been growing, public assistance has been growing, public transportation. So these people at the same time will be involved in school, work. All those elder will remain in a public assistance. And then housing was subsidizing from public housing and some family. Many family will be on job and in school. So we were receiving a lot of support through the neighborhoods, churches, organizations that has tried to helping these people to move on and make it through their life as a refugee in the United States. After 24 to 36 months, people starting to realize on where to go, what to come, what to expect, and have a little ideas on what they're here for. Then they starting to have access to services that exists on the neighborhood or maybe in another city. Whatever that's available is always on hand. That is helping this refugee to move on. In the Twin City, we have very few family back then, because in Twin City is a very diverse community, and services are available to refugees in the nation. That's why we were drawing a lot of Hmong people. That's how you were asking questions, why a lot of Hmong people in Twin City. That's the purpose. Education is accessible for them, services, employment, everything that is available to the refugee. That's how the Hmong refugees starting to flow from California, from other states, New York, New Jersey, everywhere in the nation that's coming to the Twin City for a purpose. That's why we are here. And there's some great services supporting people who supporting the refugee is great in Minnesota.
Currently, this is how we work with the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota. We have two different programs in our agency. The first program is the refugee program. It's called Refugee Resettlement Program. It's RES. This program is working with the refugee who arrive in this country in only 1 year residence. And it's a crisis program that helping refugee people working on employment services, how to survive in the community, and how very basic English learner, how to help them. So it's a state funding that helping out with the refugee program. So we contract with the state, and then we get funding by working with case by case. The second group is called APR. APR is the Minneapolis City Employment Services Group. This program is by the city, and it's funded to help the low-income refugee people who need jobs and learn to survive, so they don't have to depend on the government assistance. So these are the two programs that we're working with. Along with that, we also have a private funding through different fundings like General Mills or different other companies that are helping us with the refugee program.
So mostly I work with the youth program, and the program I work with two different programs. One program for the Hmongs County, like I have to work for the kids who go into school, like high school, middle school, but like because the school attendance is so poor, the kids don't go to school usually. So the school has to like forward the file to us, and we have to contact to the family and talk to their parents and ask them what is the problem for the kids to not attending school. And so we have to work with them and talk with the parents to find out a way how to make the kid attending school usually, or try to keep the kid away from the game activity. So, and another one is those who commit the crime, who come to the shop and just steal stuff, clothes or something like that, and then they get caught. But because they are too young, they don't want to mess up their life, so they send the file to us, and we need to talk to them. We need to explain to them the crime, the law, and everything. And then we have to put them into community service for a while, and try to make them understand the mistake that they did, and prevent them from doing the other mistake. And after a while, that we follow the kid and see that his behavior become a good one, and then I will talk to the county and send them the paper, say that this kid develop really good in behavior, and this kid, I'm sure that he will be a good kid right now. So the admin will just destroy the case if they don't bring it to the court to again the kids later on. Because when the kids they commit the crime, when they underage, that file they steal the car, and that file will affect the kid later on when he come up into 18, after 18. So what we did is just help the kid to prevent the case after a while, so they come back to the normal life. So that is how we work with the city.
Okay, Dean, do you have anything to say? Okay. Yeah, got a question there?
I was just wondering a bit about the actual process to bring these refugees from one country to another. What steps need to be taken, something like that?
The process. You all may have a better access to all the daily news. Example, you talk about Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. Must have enough reason to the United States government to make a decision for reason to bring the refugee here in the United States, or for you to leave your country. Have to be bloody battle. That those people live at risk to remain in the homeland country, for them to be able to leave the country to another country. So it's a long process. It's a long decision making. It's a tough decision making. When we have this refugee leaving one country, it's not one or two families, but it's thousands of families. So that's the United Nations have to be involved. The country had to be approached, and with the exception of the community and the citizen who gonna be part of that to help raise those new residents who gonna be coming to your homeland country. So it's a layer of work that need to be done before the decision made, before the approval. Or the government of the country will receive a lot of rally, letter from the citizen on what they make a decision. So it's from the scratch to the top. So it took a lot of time for decision making. The reviewing of the issue for reason for those people to go one country to another, that is the biggest thing, that you have to have all the evidence, all the reason to bring those people or to let those people leave the country. So the United Nations and then the immigrations and then the local organization authority who are involving with these people, security that they come here and what we're gonna do for them. So it's a huge involvement from all levels to make one thing possible to a group of refugees.
To add to what Li Vang said, I have to clarify the difference between refugees and immigrants. Refugees are coming to America because of political reason, and they cannot live in their country because it's a political issue. And if they live there, then it's going to be a risk, and they either die or go to a concentration camp and being tortured to death. There's immigrants who are coming to America for economic reason or educational reason or business reason. That's a personal reason. So please keep in mind that refugee is different from immigrants, okay? In order for a refugee to qualify to come to America, they have to prove that they are political victims in their countries. Either they are refugee families, survivor of military men, or they are political asylum victims in their country. And then the United Nations will screen that, and then when they qualify to come, then the federal government will provide the INS or the green card statuses for them to enter into the country so they can be legal residents into the country. And when they come to this country, they have the right to go to school, to work, and they have to pay tax, just like regular citizens in this country. And they have the right to do job, they have the right to raise opinions like residents, but they have the 5-year period where they're not citizen yet. They have to learn English, learn to say they are good citizen, no criminal background, they are part of the community. Then they can get into the citizenship exam, and if they pass, then they'll become U.S. American citizen.
Okay. Let me just add one thing about that process. It's a long process. It's got a couple of steps that they already mentioned. One is that you have to be American allies during the war, and then you got the refugee status as dimensions, and then the United States government, especially I believe that in 1965 they passed the family reunion legislations, and they construed these legislations to embrace the Southeast Asia refugees in the United States. And remember Bush talking about the faith-based organizations, which refer to nonprofit organizations, churches, and so forth. An immigration issue is a federal government issue. The government responsible to allocate these newcomers to different cities, different locations, responsible for job and basic service for these people. And the government shift its responsibilities to the faith-based organization, churches, that as they already explained, that churches, Lutheran Church, Catholic Church, they are the sponsorship of these newcomers from refugee camps to the United States. And this church got the federal grant, which allocated by federal governments to this faith-based organization, carry out the responsibilities of the federal governments. And once they are here in the United States, then they confront a numbers of social, cultural issues adapting to mainstream America, because they happens to be here. They just happen to be here, not prepared to be here. And that's the enormous problems facing them, lack of English, lack of social, cultural adaptations, etiquette, and so forth. And these are the enormous problems. And that's why these ladies and gentlemen are responsible to establish non-profit organizations and different types of the faith-based organizations providing English, basic English, social, cultural survivals, translations, and so forth, helping these peoples to gradually assimilate to mainstream America. And that's the process of the coming and the process of adaptations. And then once they adapt, localize, and they here at the university, such as the ladies by the end of the table there. So just add additional information. Other questions or comments about that? Yeah.
When you're talking about like education and with the refugees when they come over, are the school districts willing? Do you find them more willing to fund programs and provide the extra assistance to the students that are coming over, or do you find more resistance within the school districts?
Um,
Is it difficult to start those programs because of funding and?
No, because the government in the United States is aware, and they were so prepared. So the World Bank Agency, churches, school district, they have preparing the ESL. Is ready for all the refugee when they got here. And the ESL class has been expanded from what used to be for a number of years after the Asian refugee arrived in United States in certain states. Excuse me, as I think the Twin City specifically have a lot of ESL, even during the neighborhood recreation, churches, school in the evening. So they have all kind of ESL, even at the college and at the University of Minnesota also have ESL class for refugee in the evening for maybe 20 years after the refugee arrived here, then that slowly disappear, after they realize that more people has able to speak, read and write simple and basic English. So that's what the government has really prepared for the time the Asian people arrive here in the United States. The challenge area is that because we have all these educators who have high professional from home, after we arrive here, everything just turned out to be ash, including myself when I was in a hospital serving back home. I can work from patients unit all the way to operation. I do labor delivery. I'm a head of emergency back in my homeland country. So we have all the education. So my major mostly emergency room and operation, labor delivery, intensive care. I have assist sometime in a patient's unit that if I need it, I can go to pharmacy. So back then when we trained to serve the American CIA military, we got to be very well trained, and we have to be expert in every unit of the hospital, not just nurse assistant, not just inpatient, outpatient, or you have to be specifically anesthesia, surgery, minor surgery, everything in an emergency room that I have to practice. When I got here, I go all the way from RN to a nurse assistant, health interpreter during my training time from 77 all the way to 88. That's what our entire career has been throwing away. We have to starting things over. So it creating a huge depression for these new arrival who were used to be very high rank, very well done with their job and professional, and we starting everything over. That's the most painful for these people who have gone here by the time from 76 to 87. That is the worst nightmare that we were facing.
I'd like to talk about from the point of school view. I used to work in the school district, and I used to be a board member for school district in St. Paul. So maybe I can share that a little bit with you so you understand better. She talked about the refugee and how the school served the refugee community, but I want to talk about how school functioning in their local community. Actually, the state funding and the federal funding in educational program, they funded to open to all people, and they use the ideas of no child left behind, and that means all kids are allowed to go to school. You cannot discriminate any children in the school district or in the community. And to promote the English language and to be assimilated to the American society, they want these people to go to school. So because of that reason, the school theory, they want children to go to school. So for example, like each child go to school, it costs state funding about $10,000 for regular program per year. So that means if I have a like Como elementary school and I have 10 ESL students come to my school, the school used the special ed reason to get the ESL funding from the State Department to get the education for the ESL student. And they use comparing side by side with the LD program and the ED program. And they treat the ESL students in this special way because of their cultures and language like in the school system, and because of the theory of no kids left behind.
Okay, other question? Yes, ma'am.
I'm an international student from Nepal, so like we have a huge, with these refugees in Nepal, like there's like a UN camp there, refugee camp, so I had the chance to interact with them while I was back home. So now I know that these are also new pockets of people, refugees coming to the U.S., especially in Minneapolis, Minnesota areas. So what are the, few unique challenges that these refugees have compared to other states, low? I mean, I understand from the Hmong and because they have a little political, base more so than these people. So what do you think are their unique challenges compared to other groups of refugees that have come here before?
Yes, we do, my organization does serve the Bhutan, the Korean. We do see and understand the challenge, difference between the Korean and the Bhutan. The refugee for Bhutan and Korean is very different because the refugee services is not fully there for them, and the government wasn't prepared. And to 2004, when we brought the last group of Hmong refugees to United States from Batam, Kabul, I did talk to the Minnesota Department of Health. I did went to the Capitol, informing the legislature about the preparation to serving this group of refugees after they arrive in the United States. It's gonna be a tough issue because the refugee will not care the way they used to be. So today we do have a lot of problem with Bhutan and with the Korean community. With the services they receive, employment is issue, education is issue. Housing also an issue for this two new group arrival of refugees, including the Hmong people who last arrival in 2004 to the 2010. We still have very few Hmong family arrive in the United States was untold that from the refugee camp for some medical purpose as today. So that is considered as income. The government depends on the anchor sponsor. The anchor sponsor, which means it's your family who've been here for a long time, sponsoring you. So the American government only brought allowing those families to enter the United States, but it's not their responsible to help teaching, providing care, helping with a job and life and living here is their family. But those families who've been here for the last 30 years, 35 years, they still struggling themselves. That's why now our current family, our Bhutan family, and the Hmong family are struggling. The Hmong family doing much better because they have larger family here who've been here before them for 20, 30 plus years. So they receive most care from the family and helping them to make the way through and form for what needs to be done. But the Bhutan definitely difficult, facing challenging. Also the Korean, it is very challenging from scratch to the top. The good things for the Bhutan is because many of them were educated back then. They have very high professional and they were fast learning and they accepting things and they do much better. But the Korean people is struggling because they were refugees for 60 years plus in the border of Thailand and Myanmar. Yes, so that's what happened. And the Korean is isolated for years that they were there, so that's why they have very, very limited service here that to meet the need. And remember, one thing that you all need to pay attention, the Korean community is working very restrictive with clans. So when you're talking about Korean, you're gonna merge all the Korean together. You have to be very careful. If you serve one group, the other group not gonna show, and be respect of that. You were asking question why. I don't know how many of you have watching Rambo movie when he tried to demonstrate the way how the Korean people were treated in a refugee camp. Because the Korean refugee people, they were betraying each other. So they were betraying this clan to the military. Young man, boy, woman got raped, killed, executed. It's very bloody thing. That's why now the Korean group is very divided. So the State Department wasn't aware of that. I educating the head of refugee and social services say, be careful, don't put the refugee Korean together. They did, and they formed a Korean organization in Twin City. What happened? The executive director of the Korean received a very, very dangerous threatening. So what happened now? The Hmong person have to be executive director for the Korean organization. Let's think about this. These people are very new. Don't put themselves together. It's not gonna work. They need the time to learn how to love each other, how to work each other, how to forget on what they received in the camp. Because the brother killed, the baby sister were raped, took it at night to the military base and raped bloodily. You know, hang under the house because they have high ground house. They hang them down there. And there's a lot of things that you don't know. So be very careful with the Korean group, and don't force them, don't drag them, but try to teach them.
Okay, any other question, especially for our students here on campus? She may have different experience in college too. I mean, if you wish to have a question for her, feel free, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious if you could talk a little bit more about why refugees are reluctant to go to college, especially since I know within the Hmong community in St. Paul, there's a really kind of vibrant business community. And so it seems like there would be a lot of motivation to, or at least people would be seeing opportunities based on going to college.
Wait. Can you repeat the first part of your question again?
Yeah, okay, so what I was saying is, it seems like there are a lot more economic opportunities for Southeast Asians right now in the Southeast Asian community, just with business ownership and et cetera. And so I was wondering how that factors in to decisions whether to go to college or to not go to college.
Well, I kind of see a different story. There may be a lot of businesses up in the Twin Cities. I understand where you're coming from, but a lot of those businesses are made probably from people that has gone to college and probably has been here a long time. And as much as there's been so many new and like refugee families here, going to college becomes a very hard decision to make, especially if you're a female in the family. And coming to college is it's becoming changing, but there is still a lot of families that prefer their children to stay at home and go to a tier college and just stay at home and work, or else don't even go to college and just come home and work, because it's really family oriented, and a lot of people are scared of having their children live far away because they're not used to this American society we live in. Like, I had to fight hard just to even get to live here in St. Cloud and move away from my mom, and she still lectures me about being a great housewife, and I'm like, okay, I know how to butcher a chicken already. I want to go to school. But right now, as I talk to a lot of students, there are opportunities, but there's very little understanding. There's very little understanding that you can go to college, you can pay for school, You know, a lot of families are afraid of death. You know, it's the same thing as everyone else. I think just the only disadvantage is that these parents really have no understanding of what a college degree means to them or to their children, and that it is important that they let the children go to school and have an independent life. And it's hard to assimilate to that, especially living from a refugee camp where everyone just stays in the house and works with chores, and you know, they were so like, you know, right now families right now are still trying to stick to the way they know back in the refugee camps. You know, they have like gardens in the backyards, or they were rent out gardens and just and do what they always do, and just sell their produce. And you know, they try to, and then as the children are growing up, they're trying their best to get away and having being educated. And I think parents right now are just still not used to it, and they don't as much as they understand the importance, but they really don't really know how it benefits their children. And like I would have like a little 5th or 4th grader come up to me and say, I want to go to school, I want to go to college, but my mom said it's too much money, and it just makes me sad. I'm just like, okay, well, you can still go to college. You know, your parents probably, you know, there's so many financial aid, like grants and awards and scholarship, and hearing that just kind of saddens me that, you know, parents are discouraging their children to just stay at home because they're so scared of the world out there. And, you know, and they're still, you know, there are a lot of young kids that are, like, even one of the 6th grade girls, how come you're not married yet? And I was just kind of like, oh my God, I'm not married because I'm not at that time to get married yet. I'm still in school. So, you know, they're just learning that, you know, they haven't got that worldview of, like, you know, a degree, a college degree is what you like would be great. And, you know, to go into 2-year college is also great too. Don't get me wrong, community college is a great way, accessible for all variety of students. But then, you know, they tend to just go work and become labor workers instead of trying to get a college degree because of the influence they see from their family.
I'd like to add something to this. I work with a lot of Korean people, and a lot of young people, they want to go to school, but they are victims, and most of the time when you talk to them, they talk about political issues back in their country. And they talk about going back to refugee camp and helping the orphan in the refugee camp and sending money to their parents live in refugee camp. They come from a very crucial background. So when you talk to them, they want to go to school, but they don't not know how to get to the college levels because they think that it's too expensive or too hard because their English background or educational background. So it's very, very hard for them. But I have some students who work hard. They go to, they try St. Paul School College, and they're working full time. People like that are striking hard, and they speak 4 different languages. So they're very smart and very hard worker.
Okay, you got a question?
Yeah, I have a question. When it comes to, I work with a group of girls in my community, and we try to reinforce the importance of self-esteem and education. When you look at the women and children, girls that are coming over and as these refugees, to them, since they do have such a background of stepping back and not being that person who...
Well, actually, the woman, I think from the Asian or not Southeast Asian is Asian, you know. I think women attempt to be really open their eyes, their hearts on what they think that would be benefit to them here that they're willing to learn. First thing we starting here is think about the way of life and living is very different. What we helping the woman, so the mother here is to really help them how to help the children at home. Check on the backpack after the children came home from, it doesn't matter what grades, you know. So really helping the parent to understand how to help the children at home. Number 2 is talking about the different life here and expectations. Self-esteem is very different here and there. You know, coming here, you have to involve more activity. than used to be. So these women really need to be empowered, but they really need to understand how they're gonna do it, what they're gonna do it, that not to offend the family, the spouse. How can they be best to help? So it took a lot of time. But this woman, number one, is food for the family. That you really need to help this parent to understand, number one. Number two is hygiene for these children to go to school, give them bath, change. So that is a step that this mother who newly arrived here or who arrived here for a long time, they may not have any access to this education. So that's what you're starting, and that's when you're starting to see the change from what they are coming from. That is considered as an education level at home to help these parents.
Okay, let me take one more question since our time is about to up. And then I would like to close the discussions with a piece of information to qualify the title of the discussions, Hmong and forms of political organizations. Let me take one more questions, and then we will close the discussions. Any other questions? Oh, if not, then let me tell you something about the non-profit organizations that these ladies and gentlemen has been done for the Southeast Asia refugee communities in the last 30 years. And why we say this is a form of political organizations? Once again, when they arrive in the United States, they confront a number of social, cultural, political issues in which they don't know what to do, don't speak English, don't know how to take bus and so forth. And these are the basic necessities that they confront in America. So in order to facilitate this type of problems, these ladies, Hmong leaders, Southeast Asia leaders group together to form non-profit organizations which non-political entities. And the basic purpose of these institutions are to help in these newcomers to adapt to mainstream societies, to understand English, to get jobs and any other basic service in America. Simultaneously, these institutions also provide them information about political process, political issues, political candidate, educate them how to get involved into the process, how to do your duties and responsibilities as citizens. And these are the informations that they educate their clients. So the more they educate their clients, the better that they engage in the process. And the more they engage, the more they are democratically minded on the issues, on the process, and they therefore make decisions to form their political identity, either with the Democratic parties or Republican Party. And that's what we mean by institutional mechanisms as the basis to help these peoples to adapt. And the more they adapt, the more they engage. And they identify themselves with one of the two major political parties or non-political ID. And based on my understanding as a political scientist here, I observe that older generations tends to be more conservative, and they affiliate themselves well with the Republican parties because they argue that Republicans has a better reputation to deal with foreign policy issues. Republicans have better policies to help them to cope with the communism issue back in their home countries. And these are the efforts of the parties that do to cultivate, induce the older generations to be a part of that. In contrast to that, the younger generations who grew up here in America and they identify themselves with mainstream societies, they tend to be much more liberal. And their crisis is not based on identities, but their issues are to fight for rights and liberties, education, liberty, employment, and so forth. And they see that the Democratic Party has a better reputation to deal with domestic issues, gender issues, and minority issues. And this explains why the refugee communities are divided not only based on cultures, language, but also political ideas and belief. And that is create a new generation gaps, internal conflicts and competitions, because older people, they're conservative, stay home and adapt more into their traditions. Younger people, they happen to be in the families, but they educate in mainstream America, and they happen to think like the teachers tell them to think. And that is create a levels of conflict. So that means refugee issues is not one-time issue, it's a continued issues in which these ladies and gentlemen are important to make the communities a better place to live and understanding each other's between parents and kids. So let me close these discussions with this note, and I want to take these liberties to express my heartfelt appreciations to the panelists, and since our chair of the conference is here, I would like to invite you to say something if you have some words to say to the panelists or the audience.
No, just thank you very much. I mean, I'm sorry I couldn't be here for more of this, but unfortunately I had obligations to the panel next door. But just from what I can see, it was a very engaging panel, and just from what little I heard, I'm looking forward to watching it on the video.
Thank you.
So, but thank you very much, everybody, for coming.
Yes, that's good.